Ever since Trump announced he wants to reopen Alcatraz, I can't stop thinking about it. I especially can't stop thinking about whether or not I could do the swim from Alcatraz to shore in San Francisco. So Riley Gaines, who, of course, we've had on the show here before, she is the former swimmer from the University of Kentucky who got beat out by Will Thomas, was fed up with the nonsense, had to change the locker room with the dude, and became basically an overnight social media star because she had the backbone. I was going to say the stones, but that was Thomas who had the stones. She had the backbone to stand up to the ridiculousness of having to compete against a male. So she's now obviously on Fox. She's been here in the studios when she was campaigning with Derek Schmidt for Kansas governor. With Trump announcing over the weekend that he wants to try to reopen Alcatraz, the prison out there in California, Riley Gaines posted yesterday, by the way, it's escapable if you don't mind freezing temps and shark-infested waters. And I guess she has done the swim. It's about 1.5 to 2 mile swim. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I think I'm a decent swimmer, but I don't think I could do it. First off, the cold temps would get to me. The sharks would freak me out. Apparently, the currents are super strong in the area that cause you to drift sideways, which increases the total distance you have to swim. And while I could take breaks by floating on my back, I don't have confidence I could do it. I want to think, and I've been trying to convince myself over the last 24 hours I can make it work. But I don't think I can make it work, Mark.
Yeah, the floating on your back part, that's when the sharks get you. So you got to be careful about floating on the back, just letting your legs dangle there. Yeah, that's when they try to attack.
Then you look like a seal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to give myself credit, but I also have to be realistic. I don't think I could pull it off. And I want to be like, hey, they do triathlons there apparently on a yearly basis, and maybe they do it. You got to get in your wetsuit because the water's cold up there in San Francisco. But, man, I'm not thinking that I've been able to pull that off. And that's why nobody in the history of Alcatraz as a federal prison was able to do it. So I did a deep dive on it last night because I just can't get enough of the story. And do I think that we are going to reopen Alcatraz? No, I don't. I think this is classic Trump where he says something, how serious it is. Well, he didn't really give it much thought. But for Trump, what it does is it creates the narrative that we're not putting up with any criminals anymore. Whether it's people crossing the border, whether it's criminals committing violent crimes, we are not putting up with it any longer. And even talking about and having the conversation around reopening Alcatraz is a way to further that narrative. And then eventually what's going to happen is nothing will come of this. It will fall back, into the background of the conversation. But it will be a story for 2-3 days here where we talk about Alcatraz. And that's exactly what I think Trump was going for in part when he brought this up yesterday in a press conference.
Reopen Alcatraz. How will you use it? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies.
Yes, great movies. The ultimate, I love it. I love it. So this is really about, as he notes there, bringing back the law and order element. On the text line, Pete, would you do it for $1 million, cash, tax-free? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Now, are you giving me a wetsuit or not? Because that's also, I've got to imagine, part of the conversation. I would not do it for $1 million because I don't think it's worth $1 million to nearly die. I got a lot of life to live. Hopefully, knock on wood. I got 3 little girls I want to see grow up. So, for $1 million to swim from Alcatraz to shore, I'll pass. I don't know what that number would have to be to even consider it, to be honest. But it's definitely no way is it $1 million for me. It might be for you if you've got confidence in your swimming abilities, but not for me at $1 million. I'll skip that one. But you have had some of the worst prisoners ever, like, end up having to go to Alcatraz. They average about 275 prisoners at any point in time. And now they get about 1 million tourists a year. So you've had people like Machine Gun Kelly, Al Capone. You've got some of the worst people. And I was reading the other day about Machine Gun Kelly. He started off in Leavenworth before he ended up going out there. So you got a little local tie in all this as well. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Lawrence. That's where Ashley is. Good morning, Ashley. You're on KCMO.
Hey, Pete. I'm very interested to see what our president is going to quietly do over the next few days, because what I've noticed about our very intelligent president is that he will say something like, let's rename the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, and get the left and the mainstream media screaming about things, and then he will very quietly do other things that they don't even notice because they're so busy screaming about things that don't even really matter. If he reopens Alcatraz, I'm happy about that. Great, let's do that. But he's got them looking one direction while he very quietly does things that they would absolutely hate, but they don't even notice because they're so wrapped up in other things that they don't even notice, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop doing this. And then, hey, they don't even pay attention, and I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. It's a distraction tactic is what I think it is, and whether he actually intends to do it, I don't know. But I absolutely am going to be watching guys, or listening to and watching guys like you to hear what's really going on, because I think that there's something in the works that he's going to be doing that they're not even going to notice, and I love it.
I think that could very well be on the table, Ashley. I think it's a combination of potentially that and also just the narrative that we are bringing back a country of law and order, and even talking about this and talking about Alcatraz is one way to go about doing it. One of the most well-known prisoners of Alcatraz, Robert Stroud, nicknamed the Birdman of Alcatraz for his later interest in the study of birds. He was originally imprisoned for manslaughter in 1909. He later killed a prison guard and was sentenced to life in solitary confinement at Leavenworth. While in prison, Stroud began raising canaries and conducting research on birds, later publishing respected books on bird diseases. Respected author, Robert Stroud. Though he was allowed to conduct his studies in his cell, prison authorities later found that equipment Stroud had requested for his experiments were used to construct a still for homebrew, according to the Federal Bureau of Prison site. Stroud was then transferred to Alcatraz in 1942, where he was not allowed to keep birds. He left Alcatraz for another facility in 1959 and passed away 4 years later. So there's another local story on one of your most famous prisoners from Alcatraz. How much would it cost to bring back Alcatraz? Well, $3 to $5 million to restore and maintain the facility, excluding daily operational costs. So, you know, you're getting 1.2 million tourists a year that go to Alcatraz. That brings in money. You're talking about losing those millions combined with spending millions to restore it and maintain it. And it's a very expensive place to operate, obviously, because you got to get people out there every single day, switching shifts and things like that. So to me, this is much more about the narrative than it is about Alcatraz coming back. But you know what? Trump likes talking about it. And clearly he's a fan of the movies, which is most important as well on stuff like this.